Hi there, Christopher here. Update on chapter 10. Hopefully this one's a good step forward. I'm hoping that we can finalize this fairly quickly now that I'm back on vacation. And Matthew has given me this very thorough, detailed walkthrough of everything. Thank you for patiently answering all my questions here. So let's dig right in. So generally, some of the original design iterations were much more graphical, and with these different overlays, and there was like a map of the different transactions. That's kind of gone. The graphical part is now more. If you look at the sequence of screen, like this chapter is basically a conversation between you and Bob. You're trying to set up this Lightning channel. Payment channel between you and him, and he keeps challenging you. You start with the kind of very naive assumptions and on the mechanisms involved, and then he keeps challenging you. So there's kind of a conversation happening, and I think those conversations, those images, that's the more graphical part, where we can render the scene in the bar. You're sitting at the bar, Bob's behind the bar, and we show different camera angles and different interactions, and that's kind of the back and forth. And then the challenges themselves are visually more straightforward and more functional. So let's dig in. As usual, we have our chapter intro screen with a little bit of it sets the stage basically. You're at this bar now, you're celebrating, you're trying to, Mika Ramen, you observe her making a payment, and you're trying to figure out, well, I never thought about how this Lightning stuff works. And then you start to get into this conversation and this interplay with Bob and trying to kind of recreate how payment channels work. So the UI, the first impression of this chapter 10 UI I see is very, very simple. It just says like, you have initial funds. This is what you're starting with, 10K, 100,000 sats. And the big UI change here is that we have a list of tabs here, which we previously used to switch between languages, JavaScript, Python, etc. Now this is actually to switch between different transactions. You start with one, in the end you're going to have like 5 different transactions that they all kind of build on each other in a way. But the basic one is like, you have a UTXO, 100,000 sats. This is the foundation that you're going to work with. So it starts very simple and then gradually gets more complex, the screen, which you'll notice. Then your first naive assumption is just like, you're just going to make this payment, right? And that's where, in addition to this first deposit tab, you also get this payment transaction tab. And each transaction has a short title, so as you switch back and forth, you can easily see like, oh, this is what this one was for, right? Then you're just going to try to create this very simple payment. You always see here on the left the input, so this is from the deposit transaction, matches this tab. Input 0, 100,000 sats. You're going to have 2 outputs because you want part of the money to go back to you and part to Bob. You're going to fill in the script. This external link button here will open up this particular script scenario in our external stack visualizer, where you have the full rich editing tools with drag and drop and all of this stuff. Now, what's a little bit tricky here is that we're working with 2 outputs, and each link can only show the output or the script editor for one stack, right? So we're going to have to make sure that when we link people out, that the page that they land on has the full context, that they can just start focusing on the script rather than figuring out where they ended on. But here they just enter script, text field, that's it. Then signatures, here it's currently just us. You can sign it, we can send the transaction to Bob. And if I do something incorrectly, we have our trusty button component here. And as you know from other chapters, that one is fairly responsive. It can show us error and error messages. It can show us the result of a script that we just run and what it means. It can give us tips, or it can just tell us also like, great job, now the story now continues this way, let's keep going or so. So we can pack a lot of tips in there when people first send it to Bob without signing, or forget to put in the amount, or things like that. But yeah, this is what it looks like when I've completed it. I've signed it. I guess I've sent it to Bob already now. And there's a message that I have completed this. Now this actually, this is not really a success. It just means that I filled this out correctly. Right? But as Bob is going to tell us that like this is not good enough here. Right? You can still double spend. So that's where we decide, well, let's ditch this payment transaction. Let's start with a multi-sig. So the tab kind of changed. The payment tab's gone, multi-sig tab appears. We have 2 signatures now. We kind of 2 keys are required now. We submit this, we get a confirmation like you completed the screen correctly, right? But then Bob says, well, still not good enough. Then we get into the refund transactions. So let's say, multi-sig requires 2 people. If 1 person disappears, funds are stuck. Now it's like, okay, we need something else, right? Now the 3rd tab shows up. We have the refund. You work through this stuff here. Bob says, cool, still not enough. We need another clause in here, so we get into that. And you can see like how the screen starts getting more complex and filling up here. Bob's still not happy. Then, Bob is kind of happy. Then we make a payment. That means the channel is open now, right here. But we haven't actually made a payment here. We've just kind of negotiated the setup that we're going to work with. So now we need to make a payment. That's where we kind of have a bit of a recap that then guides us into the next step. Then we buy the beer. That's where the 4th tab comes in. That's the commitment. It's like basically an update now to the balance this between us. Bob is still not happy. HoloCat shows up, helps us a little bit. And that's where the asymmetry comes up, where both you are going to have your own commitment and Bob's going to have your own commitment. I think this is kind of the highest complexity or the most amount of stuff we're going to have in a screen. 5 different tabs at the top, 2 variations of the commitment transaction. So, you've seen it's just a lot more stuff going on here than the first one. So you work through this, you complete the payment, then you make another payment. You're going to have to update those 2 transactions. You have to work with both tabs. I kind of forgot what we decided on because I think in reality Bob just kind of manages his own commitment transaction. That's something that you do. You just kind of trust that they do it. I'm not sure what we decided on what we're actually doing in this challenge, if we make the user do it as part of this exercise or not. And then that's it. Image missing here. Basically this is like, I guess this is now, the user is now at the point where, all the challenges are really complete. Like we've not only figured out Vanderpool now, we can actually really relax. We can have our beverages and shut our brain off. And then, the story kind of wraps up. We bounce into Vanderpool, and this is like where we need to think of something, how we're really going to, how we want to leave users often on emotional, intellectual level, I guess. So that is it. Just let me know what you think. I think there's lots of details with like these interactions to figure out, like what to press in which order, what we tell people if they do the wrong thing, this type of stuff. But hopefully this is a good step forward. So let me know. Thanks.